Welcome to this week's guitar lesson where we're going to be looking at what I think is the easiest way to play Mr. Brightside by the Killers. Now we're going to need a capo on the 4th fret, and it is heavily influenced by the Johnny Marr version when he played with them at Glastonbury. So Johnny Marr played the opening riff, but then he went into some chords for the rest of the song. I've actually devised my own version where we continue with the lead guitar picking that we do in the original recorded version. So for this version of Mr. Brightside, we're going to need a capo on the 4th fret, and we're going to get into the main riff now. So for the main riff, you're going to place your 3rd finger onto the 11th fret of your D string, then your 2nd finger is going to go onto the 10th fret of your G, then your 1st finger is going to go onto the 9th fret of your high E. So we've got like that. So we're picking down on our D, down on our G, and up on our high E. Then we're going to go down on our G again. So down, down, up, down. We're going to then play the B string, which is open. Okay, so we've got down, down, up, down, down. Then we're going to put our little finger down onto the 11th fret of the high E. We're going to pick that note. So we've got, and for that I do an upstroke. Then you're going to lift your finger off and do a down pick. So we've got down, down, up, down, down, little finger down, up, little finger off, down, and then we're going to hit the G on the up pick. So we've got this. And one more time. And one more time. So the main thing you need to be careful here with this riff is skipping over the strings. So when we go down, skipping over the B, then we're skipping over the B again, then we're skipping over the B again. Just something to be careful of, but that is your first shape. So for the second shape, what I do is I move my 3rd finger over to the 10th fret on the D. But our picking pattern stays the same. So if we just move that over, we just pick the same strings in exactly the same way. All exactly the same. And then the 3rd and final shape is we take that 3rd finger off. So now we're starting on the open D string, and again our picking pattern, and when we put our little finger down, is exactly the same. Like that. So on our last shape, we actually play the whole pattern twice. So if we put the 3 shapes together now at a slow tempo, it's going to sound like this. And then it resets to the beginning. Next up is the second part of the verse. So without the capo and an E flat standard tuning, you've got the big stretchy chord. It's quite awkward to play. I think in the Glastonbury version, Johnny Marr actually goes to chords in this section, but we're actually just going to keep with the lead guitar. I've come up with my own version. It's not quite exactly the same because of the capo and the tuning, but it's pretty close, and you'll be able to play this over the track and it sounds fine. So we're going to place our 2nd finger on the 6th fret of the low E, and then we're going to place our 3rd finger on the 6th fret of the G. Okay, like that. So for our picking, we're going to do this. Okay, so we're picking our E, picking our D, picking our G on the up, picking our D on the down. So far we've got, and then we're going to go up on the B, up on the G, and up on the D. Okay, so. And then we're going to finish off on the G, on the up. and you play that twice. When you play that twice, our next shape is we remove our second finger and we're going to pick exactly the same strings. Okay, so now you're picking the open E and you play it twice again. So our third and final shape is where it probably differs from the track the most, but it still sounds really good over the top. We're going to start off with the open D string that we're going to pick twice. And I'll just do 2 downs for this. Then we're going to go up on the G. Then we're going to do 2 downstrokes on the D again. So it sounds like this. And then we're going to go up on the B, up on the G, and then up or down on the D, it's up to you. So altogether we've got D, D, G, D, D, B, G, D. And at the track tempo. And on this shape we actually play it 4 times, so it'd sound like this. Exactly like that. So let's put those 3 parts together. So the first shape we do twice, second shape we do twice, and then the last shape that we do, starting on the open D, we do 4 times. So I'm going to play it slowly for you all together. And then that will lead you into the chorus. So for the chorus of the song, you're going to place your first finger on the 10th fret of your G. Then you're going to place your second finger on the 11th fret of your D. And what you're going to do with your picking is you're going to pick up on the G, down on the D, and you're going to do that 3 more times. So in total, you're hitting your G string 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And once more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to place your third finger onto the 11th fret of the G. Now you can choose to keep your first finger down for this, I usually do. And then we're going to do the same picking pattern, so it's going to be G, D, G, D, G, D, G, D. If we do that little movement slowly, so we're on the 11th fret on the D and 10th fret on the G. Third finger goes down. And then with no gap, and then the final one is we're going to place our little finger onto the 13th fret of the G. Again, you can let go of those fingers if you want to, but I generally just keep them all down. And our picking pattern's the same, so G, D, G, D, G, D, G, D. So if we put them together now, we've got Then we're going to go to the 8th fret on the G with our third finger, and it's really important we use that third finger for the next part. But what you can do on this 8th fret G, you're going to pick up, you're going to pick down on the open D, then you're going to move that third finger to the 6th fret on the G, you're going to place your second finger down onto the 6th fret of the D, you're going to pick your G and your D. So if we do those 4 notes there from our 8th fret, a little bit of an odd movement there, might require a little bit of practice. And then we're going to place our first finger down onto the 5th fret of the G. We're going to pick the G and then the D. So again from the 6th fret. Then you're going to place your third finger back down onto the 2nd fret of the G, pick up, and then pick down on the D. So that's the ending part. So think of that as the second half. And one more time slowly. Then if you put the whole of the first part of this chorus together, it's going to sound like this. Then you slide up and do it again. And then the second part of the chorus is this part here. Then the second part of the chorus is this part here. So for this, we're going to place our first finger onto the 9th fret of our B string. Then we're going to place our second finger onto the 10th fret of the G. Then our third finger on the 11th fret of the D. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick up for our chords. So up on the B, up on the G, and down on the D. You can do that twice. And then finish it off, you're going to go up on the B and up on the G. So it sounds like this. So B, G, D, B, G, D, B, G. So that's your first chord shape. Then we're going to place our first finger in a bar on the 11th fret of the B, the G and the D. Picking pattern stays the same, okay? So we've got so we're picking exactly the same strings. Same for the third chord shape. For this, we're going to place our first finger on the 11th fret of the D, third finger on the 13th fret of the G, little finger onto the 14th fret on the B, picking the same strings. If we put these three chord shapes together, we've got like that, and then it goes into the second part of this little section. So after that, it then does exactly the same movement as what we did for the first part of the chorus. So that's where we're on our 8th fret of our G. We pick that, we pick the open D, and then we move down. And we do that movement there. So it's just exactly the same. So if I add that on now to this part of the chorus we're learning. So we're starting on our chord shape. And again, you do all of that little section twice. Then that would take you out of the chorus. When you come out of the chorus, you go back to the first part of the chorus, okay? Even though he's not singing, it's just a little link between the chorus and the second verse. So you go back into that part, which stays exactly the same. There is an alternative way of picking those chords. So you could actually start down and do some alternate picking. So down, up, down. For each of those chord shapes. Maybe it feels a little bit smoother doing it that way, but that's an option. So the last part for us to cover is the interlude, and this is before the I never part. We're going to place our first finger onto the 10th fret of our G, second finger on the 11th fret of our D. So it's the same shape as what we started our chorus with. And we're going to pick the G, D, G, D on this chord. In the chorus we did that 4 times, but on this time we're only doing it twice. Then we're going to place our third finger down and we're going to pick the G, D once. Okay, so we've got 2 on the first shape, third finger, just 1. So G, D, G, D, third finger down, G, D. Then we're going to place our little finger onto the 13th fret of our G string. We're going to pick the G and the D. So we only do it once again. So we've got 2, 1, 1. Then you're going to take your little finger off. Going to pick it once, so G, D, little finger back on, G, D, finger back off, G, D. Okay, and we put a little check mark there. So we're in our first shape twice, so G, D, G, D, third finger down for once, little finger down for once, little finger off once, little finger down once, little finger off once. Sounds a little bit odd slowed down, but if I play it up to the speed of the track. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to remove our third finger. So we're on essentially our first chord shape that we're on. And we're going to pick this 3 times, okay? So it's going to be G, D, G, D, G, D. In the context with the rest of it. And one more time. And then we're going to place our third finger down onto the 11th fret G again, pick the G, D, and then third finger off, G, D. So I'm going to play this for you now slowly. And out of track tempo. Then after that, we're going to add in our end chorus part. So that's where we start on the 8th fret of the G, we pick up, pick down on the open D, move that down to the 6th fret on the G, put your second finger down onto the 6th fret of the D. So we go up on the G, down on the D. Okay. First finger down onto the 1st fret of the G, we pick up and pick down on the D. And then we place our 3rd finger back down onto the 6th fret of the G, pick up and down. So, and if you put the two together, it's going to sound like this. So I'm going to do it at a slow tempo for you. Then you'd slide up and do it again, and that will then take you back into what is essentially the chorus when he sings I Never. So that has been Johnny Marr's version of Mr. Brightside mixed in with my version of the second part of the verse onwards, where we can keep with the picking through the chords like in the original track where we're in E flat standard tuning and there's no capo. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the bell, then that way you'll be notified each week when I upload a guitar lesson.